If you don't stop crying, I'll hit you again, Dad shouted. Such a timeless saying, but those words seemed to be Dad's favorite, somehow empowering him to continue his sadistic ways, never once thinking about how irrational it sounded. Hello, welcome to In My Words. The book I am reading from is titled The Monster We Call Dad by D.A. Riles. This book is not intended for young readers. After each reading session, I will briefly give information about a chosen plant. I hope through my words you will gain insight, knowledge, and a deeper appreciation and understanding of this mysterious and intricate world. Though the road may be long and hard, compassion and beauty can be gained through the enjoyment of nature and experiencing its wondrous gifts. Thank you for joining me. As the three small people walked into the kitchen, Grandma said, "After I'm done with this door, I'll make you kids some lunch. How does that sound?" She smiled warmly. The two little children said in unison. Happily, Sarah took Johnny off to play as she promised. Grandma wasn't going to chance having the same thing happen again, so she took action. Being tiny had its disadvantages, but when the little lady had her mind set, there was no way of stopping her. Rummaging through the hall closet, she found the hammer. Walking past the children as they sat on the living room floor coloring, Grandma said, "If you two want, you can go upstairs and play until I'm done. It's going to be noisy for a little while." Sarah saw Grandma with a hammer and knew it would be loud. Many times Sarah heard Grandpa and Dad use a hammer. It always made her eyes blink. Sarah took her little brother off to play. Grandma proceeded to the basement door. Taking the oversized tool in her hand, she pounded the hinges upwards so they would pop off. It took a few whacks, but she did it. After she had removed all three hinges, she needed to get the door away from the stairs. The solid wooden door was very heavy. Reaching her arms around the heavy object, she grabbed the sides. She wasn't strong enough to lift the door, so she slid it instead. Setting it near the top of the basement stairs, she laid it on its side to sufficiently block the basement. Feeling good about her accomplishment, she smiled to herself, thinking, "Now I don't have to worry about anyone being locked downstairs anymore." The next morning when Tomas came home from work, the first words bellowed out of his mouth were, "Who the F took the basement door off its hinges?" Coming from the living room, Lena defiantly entered the kitchen where Tomas was. "Did you do this?" he said to his mother-in-law angrily, pointing to the doorless frame. "Let's get this straight," Lena began. "Firstly, you don't come into the house yelling. Secondly, you don't use such foul language around the kids. Thirdly, yes, I took the door off its hinges," Lena replied with zest, "and I'll do it again if you don't fix it. I told you before that Johnny might lock us down there, and he did, so you either fix the door or it can stay off its hinges." Turning her back on Tomas, Lena was about to walk away, then added, "If you ever point that finger my way again, I'll break it off. Do you hear?" With her departing words, she walked out of the kitchen. Tomas said nothing as he too walked away. The door stayed off its hinges for a whole year before Tomas decided to fix it. Perhaps he kept it off its hinges to spite the imp of a mother-in-law. Chapter 21. The Sound of Leather. "If you don't stop crying, I'll hit you again," Dad shouted. Such a timeless saying, but those words seemed to be Dad's favorite, somehow empowering him to continue his sadistic ways, never once thinking about how irrational it sounded. Many of Dad's statements were quite irrational. No one knew why. It's just the way Dad was. Joe was crying as Dad was hitting him with the belt. It was hard for him not to cry. Joe didn't know what he had done wrong. Dad had come home from work and just exploded. Grabbing Joe by his light blonde hair, he said, Bend over, you stupid little beatard. It was hard to walk over to the big chair, knowing he was going to be hit with the belt, broom, or electrical cord, but he had to oblige. Joe lowered his head and bent over the big chair. Dad liked this place the best for all of his children's spankings. Sometimes Dad would punish all 4 kids for the same crime, saying, "Since I don't know who did it, you're all going to get it." Joe was the only one home for the moment, so Dad took his full rage out on his eldest son. Prolonging the fear, the monster stalked his quarry with lithe precision, circling around the chair, waiting for just the right moment to strike. Leather sliding through pant loops, signifying its impending peril. Crack went the belt as Joe started to think back. Today's highlighted plant is nettle. Burn nettle or stinging nettle, depending on who you speak with, is a plant that many people have come across by accident, but will quickly remember it for its stinging, burning sensation, which happens when you brush up against the plant. This sensation will go away and for most people has no bad side effects except for the burning or stinging and perhaps even welting of the area in which the nettle had touched on. Nettle, however, has edible leaves and is very nutritious. Many people use it in soups. Some use it in salads if they prepare it properly before ingesting. It can also be used as a tea. Before using nettle, please know that as the plant grows taller, the leaves become tougher. It is best to use the new young leaves at the very top of the plant, which can be harvested in spring to late spring and occasionally early summer. Please know that with nettle, if eating it in a salad, it does have a tougher texture to the leaves and is harder to chew. But again, make sure you prepare it properly before ingesting. For the burning sensation or the stinging sensation that happens on the skin will most certainly happen in the mouth. For myself, I wash the leaves, I put them in a pan, add some butter, and then cook them until they have a crispy but not burnt texture. I've really enjoyed eating the nettle leaves this way. I don't know, something about the nice crunchiness of it and the taste is, I really like it. Took my family a little while after I told them what they had eaten to believe me, but they enjoyed it too. I enjoy drinking nettle tea. It is said to help like an antihistamine to prevent allergies. And I actually have used it this way, and it works for me. Again, do your own research and find out how things work for you before ingesting anything that you haven't done your research on. I like the aroma and the taste, which I think has an earthy flavor, but others have differing opinions in regards to the taste of the tea. Nettle leaves are used in teas to help boost the immune system. It is also beneficial to reduce allergy symptoms. It helps with many body functions, including strengthening the teeth, bones, and hair. It is said to help with arthritis, certain thyroid conditions, reduce blood sugar, normalize blood pressure, and various other body functions. The whole plant is useful, including the young leaves, roots, stems, and seeds. This plant is very high in vitamin A and is high in numerous other vitamins along with many minerals. Nettle has also been used in making fabric, which turns out to be a material as strong as canvas. So for me, do I enjoy nettle? Yes, I do. But as always, do your own research, for every person is different. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast with nettle. Please like, share, and subscribe. I look forward to having you join me again next time, where I will highlight another plant, and I will continue to read from the book titled The Monster We Call Dad by D.A. Riles, which you can purchase from Amazon.com. Thank you for having joined me.